We're live. Phoenix Revolution. Transform unapologetically with Stacey, the Black Feather Intuitive. Let's bring her on to reintroduce herself for show and what's up for today. Hi,
Hi, Nicole, how you doing?
I'm doing. How are you doing?
I'm doing too. It is eclipse season, and for all of you who are joining us today, welcome. Really excited to have you here for Phoenix Revolution. And I'm Stacey, the Black Feather Intuitive, and I'm all about transformation. And wow, are we ever in a very potent time right now for transformation itself? And happy eclipse season. Yesterday, we had a full lunar eclipse in Pisces. That was on September 7th and into today, the 8th. So what that basically means is the peak of the eclipse happened yesterday, and now the effects of this eclipse are going to be very present and prominent in your life for the next 2 weeks, and very likely all the way through to the next 6 months. And then in a couple of weeks, we have a partial solar eclipse that is coming up, and we're going to talk about both of those today. But let's talk a little bit about the lunar eclipse. And I know I'm not an astrologer, so I need to put that out there. I'm a psychic intuitive who loves all things metaphysical, and I am, I would say, a novice at best when it comes to astrology. I'm interested in it. I follow it. I see astrologers so that I can understand my own chart and understand myself better, but I am not an astrologer. And so I love the moon cycles and the moon energy, and an eclipse is definitely connected to that. So, what exactly is a lunar eclipse? Well, the lunar eclipse, of course, is where the moon blocks out the sun, or the sun blocks out the moon, and we go into a period of darkness. And this historically causes humanity in many ways to get anxious, to get a little nervous because, we rely on the sun. We believe that, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and that that's something that we count on. So when we do have these eclipses that happen every year, sometimes yeah, a couple of times a year, a lunar and a solar eclipse are always paired together. So sometimes we'll have two pairings in a year. Most of the time, it's just the one. Um, we as a collective can feel a little nervous, but what does it really mean for all of us? Well, what it really means is it's an opportunity for us to do a real deep reflection, and it's hitting the reset button. And the lunar eclipse in particular deals with the internal aspect. So, going within, what's going on inside of you, things that you need to reflect on within yourself, that self awareness journey. The solar eclipse is a little different, it's external. So, I like to say the lunar eclipse always happens first because it gives us an opportunity to really reflect on what it is that we have accomplished in this, since the previous lunar cycle, since the previous eclipse season, and gives us an opportunity not only to reflect on that, but then to release everything and anything that we need to release so that we can reset ourselves for the next cycle. And while it's not a time specifically for, or a great time, I should say, specifically for manifestation, it is a time to get clear on what it is that you're wanting to create so that then you're clear on what it is that you need to release in order to make room for the new that comes in. And this particular eclipse has hit us in Pisces. And that sign of Pisces, it was a beautiful blood moon that was coming up as well. So that was really cool. It is revelatory, emotional depth, spiritual awakening that is coming up because Pisces is very much that deep spiritual sign. Pisces is also about the extremes. We can go into the extreme happiness or the extreme sadness and the betrayal and the loss and all the things and the stuff. So you may be noticing over the course of this next couple of weeks that you're having all the feels, and you might be noticing that you're up and down, like the proverbial roller coaster. Don't panic. You're not losing your mind here. It's it's the process of that eclipse and how, especially with the moon affects us because we're mostly water, right? Our human bodies are made up of mostly water. The moon affects water on the planet. It affects the tides, and therefore it affects us as well. So that Pisces energy combined with the moon is really inviting us into where it is that and it's interesting because it's the Phoenix Revolution radio show, right? It invites us to really get into those spaces internally where maybe we need a revolution, we need a complete overhaul, or we need to look at, what has been and what literally no longer can help us. Maybe it's even decaying us. Sometimes when we hang on to something for too long, it starts to go bad. All good things must come to an end. There's a cycle to it. And if you're hanging on to that beautiful, delicious, ripe fruit, and you love looking at the bowl of fruit on your table or on your counter, eventually after 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to start to see that there's a lot of decay. It starts to break down. It's not luscious. It loses its flavor. It starts to grow mold. Maybe there's even a smell in the air, a rancid smell in the air. If you think about all those things that kind of overstay their welcome in our lives, the things that we try desperately to hang on to because we're afraid of what may come next or what might not come next if we let it go, what we end up doing is we create these environments within our body for the things to fester. And so this lunar eclipse in Pisces is inviting us to revolt against that, to go through and really connect with how we are feeling about ourselves, about our lives, about the world at large, about our place within the world, about the visions that we see for ourselves and the action steps that we know we need to take, or that maybe we need to find out what those action steps are in order to move forward. And that Pisces energy is very spiritual in nature, so it also invites us to kind of hermit, to go within and to understand our role in the grander plan of humanity, that every choice I make has a ripple effect out in the world, and I have choice into how I want that to affect the world. So at this time, you might also be noticing extra emotional sensitivity and intuition. I can tell you, I just got off the call with not one, but two clients in a row, back to back, where this was something that was coming up for them, that emotional sensitivity, that, not understanding why they're completely fine and all of a sudden they're crying, or they're feeling psychically extremely sensitive and feeling that something's coming, and they need to protect their empath, a little bit better, or they're finding that they can't go out in larger crowds, or going out to the grocery store, for example, to pick up the groceries. They just need to get it delivered and pay the extra money because they just can't, for whatever reason in that moment, handle the emotional overwhelm that can happen when we're bumping into each other's energies. So you might be noticing some of this. Um, this is also a time for deep soul shifts. And these soul shifts can be intentional. You can set an intention for yourself at this time to say, I surrender any illusions, all illusions that are holding me in place, because this is also a time for us to be continuing to walk our path. The foundation has already been laid, but the foundation isn't just a tiny little square and we have to live our lives on that square. The foundation is laid for a really long period of time so that you can walk that journey, and spin out on that, that global journey. I just keep seeing, the person walking and the globe keeps moving as they're walking. They're walking around the globe and the globe keeps turning. That's the foundation. This is not a time, I mean, each of you, on an individual level may be at different phases and stages of a foundation. You might actually be finding yourself without foundation, in the middle. I like to say in the Phoenix growing phase, where, you're at the end of a major chapter in your life and you're not quite in the next chapter, and so you're just trying to figure out, what does that foundation look like as I'm moving forward? What kind of foundation do I need for the journey forward. And others of you may be on solid ground, having built that foundation, and now you're ready to kind of spread your wings and fly and walk that path. Wherever you find yourself in that, this is definitely a time to set the intention to call on your angels and guides, or to connect with your high self, or just connect with the energies in nature, connect with source energy and say, all right, like, make the illusions so obvious that I can't unsee it, that I can't mistake it for anything other than exactly that, that it's an illusion. It's not real. It's not something that I can have or that I want, or it's not something that really truly can hold me back from where I'm going and growing. This is also a really incredible time to release emotional baggage. And I don't know about you guys, but my dreams have been off the charts for the last couple of weeks. And I feel very much that it's in preparation, or has been in preparation for this lunar eclipse season. Because the dreams that I've been having are about random people, about situations that I'm not necessarily dealing with right now because they're not prominent in my life right now, but clearly they're still taking up space in my soul. And they're things from the past that still have a little bit of a charge of hurt, or that feeling like, oh, I wish I could tell my story, or I wish I could have a conversation with that person and really get them to say sorry, or really get them to understand where I was coming from, or I wish I could go back in time and change what I said. All of these things are coming up not because I need to do anything with them internally. It's coming up because it no longer serves to stay within my body. And I come back to that festering, right? When we hang on to things too long, when they start to decay, they create decay around them. And we don't need that in our bodies. This is a period of time where we are really stepping into our health, our everyday health. And sneak peek, spoiler alert, the solar eclipse is we're gonna be talking about that, because the solar eclipse is in Virgo. And Virgo is the astrological sign of health, and the mundane, the day to day, and the service, being in service to others. So when we're dealing with this Pisces, and Pisces, by the way, is the opposite sign to Virgo. So we also have that working for us, where we're dealing with these two polarities, the two opposite ends of this particular pole. So, yeah, releasing emotional baggage from the internal realms and surrendering illusions, because those things all serve to create decay within the body. And I'm just going to say, ain't nobody got time for that right now. So again, I'm not an astrologer at all, but I will say to you that because this lunar eclipse shows up in Pisces, Pisces is a mutable sign, which basically means there are four mutable signs in the astrological wheel, and that's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And mutable signs means that these are personalities who tend to be a little more able to go with the flow in general. They are able to adapt. They are not really rigid in what they're doing. And because they're able to go with the flow, a lot of the day-to-day things are the things that they kind of rule, or that they master at, or those are where their strengths are. So anyone here who's listening who is a Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces, you are going to be feeling this a little bit more intensely than other signs. And it doesn't mean that the other signs aren't going to feel it. We're all feeling it. We're all on this planet. We're all experiencing that. But mutable signs are going to maybe have a little more of a personal deep dive with this. So just be prepared for that. And of course, it always depends on where it lands on in your chart, as to the area of your life that you're going to notice it with. So in the spirit of doing some deep introspection, maybe allowing us to expand our knowledge and our growth, we definitely want to kind of talk a little bit today about the revelations and releases. So, giving yourself the opportunity to kind of think about what are some of the, I want to say, like those hidden truths, those under the surface things that maybe you've been burying for a long time. Like I said, it's been coming up for me in my dream state where I'm having these dreams about people that I haven't even thought about in years and years and years, but there are these issues that are coming up in the dreams around the initial wound, and even though in my day-to-day life now, I don't think about that wound. I'm not wounded about it. There's a part of me that still feels that. So in your life, this is a great time to be introspective about what those hidden truths are that are coming to the surface, especially when it's connected to the emotions and to, I want to say, the energetics in terms of the patterning that you're walking through and that you're living. Um, you don't have to do a total emotional deep dive. This isn't about being scorpionic. This is more about, I want to say, acknowledgement, recognizing that these things are coming up, recognizing that these things still exist in your life and in your world. And what do you want to do about that? What you want to do with it is you want to acknowledge it and you want to release it. I acknowledge you, the pain of someone slighting me and or abandoning me, and I take that feeling and I wrap it up in a beautiful ball of pink light, pink energy. I wrap it up, beautiful bow on top, and I release that out into the world. I transmute it and I say, go and send peace and love out into the world to all who need the peace and the love, to all who need comfort from, feeling abandoned, feeling more inclusive, included, feeling a part of, feeling loved and nurtured and comforted. That's an easy way to acknowledge and release without having to do like the therapy deep dive. And of course, if you feel like you need to process it in a deeper way, by all means. But that's not what the lunar eclipse necessarily indicates. It's not saying you've got to go and you know, drudge up stuff. It's saying we're bringing stuff to the surface because it's decaying and it just needs to leave your body so that your body doesn't decay. Also, there's an opportunity here for each of us to do a deep, intuitive alignment. So, this is a great time for journaling, meditation, spiritual connection. And I want to say it's introspective, but there are those of us who have those really deep connections with other people where we can actually process some of those deep reflections with another person. So I want to say it's not going to be for all, but it may be for some that you may want to have this experience with that trusted other person, to do the meditation together and to be able to talk about what you received in the meditation, or just being in a circle of supportive people as you're going through this. Emotional expansion is going to happen in really big ways. So you want to get out of the way and let it happen. Um, Future vision is important without the manifesting. So I want to say it's like you want to think about this time in terms of like planning out what you might like to have happen without actually calling forth to the universe and saying, okay, I'm going to feel this into being and I release this to the universe to make it happen. This is the time to plan out, to play in the imagination space. What could this be? Let me take this vision out to the nth degree so that I can decide and determine what it is that I want to bring in. And then as we were talking about that mutable signs, like I said, you may feel the shift the most. So if you are really feeling this in a heavy way, consider where you can adapt more. Consider where you can be a little more, I want to say, like the Pisces, like the fish in the water. You just go with the flow rather than trying to control it. We don't need to control the narrative or control the flow of the river. We just need to go with it. Things go a lot easier, and that allows you to be present and open and aware for what is, as you're going down that river. So I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little card pull for the lunar eclipse to help us with that reflect and release. And then we'll talk a little bit about the solar eclipse. So today I'm using the Awaken Tarot. And yeah, cards are flying out already. So the first card pull here is, what emotional pattern or unresolved feeling is surfacing for you now? And how can you lovingly acknowledge and release it? Well, the card that flew out for us is the Eight of Cups, which is the release, the letting go, the walk away. It is the eclipse. So I think it's really incredible that we're actually getting the eclipse card that's coming out. So, what does this mean for us when we talk about that emotional pattern or the unresolved feeling? I feel like it's radical acceptance of what is. The eclipse is here. If we go back to, like ancient times, they would get fearful of it because the sky goes dark. And it brings us to our mortality. It brings us to that. What if the sun doesn't come back out? What if we live in eternal darkness afterwards? Of course, that's not what happens. The pattern in this cycle always brings the sun back, and moving forward, and whatever, and there's a sense of relief after that. But I would say to you, the emotional pattern maybe that you want to explore based on this Eight of Cups is, where in your life do you hold your breath thinking that, oh my God, this is the one time when the things that I absolutely can count on aren't here. And I would take it a step further and say, if that really is the case, rather than approaching it with fear, what can I lean into as a plan? And when I look at this particular card, what I love about this is you've got someone in this card, and it's a different depiction than the regular Rider-Waite-Smith, in that you've got this person walking away from the three cups that are on the shore, but he's a hiker. He's got his backpack on, he's got his sandals, his hiking sandals, he's got walking sticks. He's not looking back at all. He's already planned for this. He's already knowing that he's heading towards a particular area. He doesn't know exactly what he's going to find on the journey, but he knows that he's chosen his true north, and the cups are in the south, so he's not worried about that. It's just his true north, and he's moving forward. And I feel like this is really the way you want to maybe consider this reflect and release at this time, especially around that emotional pattern, is, where am I feeling the fear that somehow I'm so different that it's not going to turn out for me in the way that it turns out for every other single person in the world? And what can I do to plan for that? So it's getting out of the space of fear and getting more into empowerment of, okay, I don't have to feel the anxiety of this. I can feel the sadness and I can grieve, but I can grieve on the go. And I've got a plan. And when we have a plan and we know where things are at, that anxiety just gets, I want to say, like, almost eradicated, because now, okay, it maybe all things being equal, I would have chosen something different, but it's radical surrender. It is what it is. And now I've got a plan. And so I feel good about that plan because I feel a little bit more in control of my own destiny, in control of my own choices. Where in your life do you need to surrender control and I was just talking about that. Surrender control and trust your intuition or higher guidance. Okay, Ace of Swords. I'm loving this cup. So, or sorry, loving this card. Um, the Ace of Swords is that pure potential. It's the inspired thought. It's the absolute truth, pure and unrefined and unredacted. And I feel like this is where you want to surrender control. You want to surrender control from the perspective of, I can make up all sorts of things in my head. I can tell myself all kinds of stories about why things are happening the way that they are, about why I am the way that I am, about why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. But the Ace of Swords is coming in to say, let's just simplify. Let's just let go and say, what is it that my heart wants me to know right now? What is it that my guides are trying to say to me? Maybe I need to take that sword of truth and slash out my thoughts and my ego voice and my intentions right now for the physical, and be in a space of stillness. And again, that lunar eclipse, that Pisces energy invites us to do that deep dive, invites us to go within internally. So this is allowing yourself to swim in your ocean of emotion. I'm being shown an image of the oh my God, the sound deprivation flotation tanks, the sound deprivation and flotation tanks where you can float in the tank and there's no sound. There's no nothing. You're just floating and you're able to hear yourself. You're able to feel things and you're bringing awareness to things that you don't normally have awareness of because there's so much noise and clutter all throughout, you know, your life and the day and all the things and the stuff. So I feel like the Ace of Swords is saying, hey, surrender all of that and really go within and sit in the silence of it so that you can receive the purity of the truth, not the truth that you're trying to fabricate or create or whatever. Creation is a different time. Remember, this is reflection and reset. So when we hear, okay, this is what my heart really wants, it simplifies everything. Just cuts to the chase and simplifies everything. And then everything becomes clear. Ooh, I think everyone is. I feel all the flotation device places going on wait lists because everyone is going to be that's listening to this is going to be like, oh my God, I need to book a session. I need to book a flotation session. What dream, vision, or soul longing is wanting to be heard right now within you? And how can you honor it? Oh my God. Okay, you can't make this shit up, guys. We got the Three of Wands. Three of Wands card is the card of expansion. And I feel like when we talk about the lunar eclipse as a reset, that internal reset, I feel exactly like what we were talking about before. Allow your imagination to run wild. Allow yourself to take that future vision out to the very ends of the boundaries of what you know, and then stretch out even a little further just to see what you can find. Three of Wands is expansion. It's recognizing, yeah, my ships are coming in. And maybe it's not what I expected, but it might be more than I expected. And so now it's about me really embracing that and saying, okay, it's time. It's time for me to step into a path of creation. But in order to do that right now, I'm just starting to see what materials I have to work with. What are the resources that are coming to me now? Again, this is the planning piece. You're planning things. You're not attaching feeling or emotion to it yet, because when we attach the feeling and the emotion to it is when we set the wheels in motion for manifestation. Right now, this is the time to really lay out for you what it is that you want. And I'm going to say to you as well, internal resets are great because they're also an opportunity for each of us to go within and say, okay, here's a thing about me that I really don't like. Here's a behavior that I've not been able to break out of. And I'm tired of it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. It creates a blockage. Maybe it's an illusion for me. It creates a blockage to my true success. So that dream, vision, or soul longing that wants to be heard, this card is coming up and offering to you the opportunity to reset that too, and to say, okay, let me just go back to like seeing myself as the babe, the babe in arms, or the babe that's just been birthed. And I don't have all that programming. I don't have all of the things and the stuff that have triggered that or have created that coping mechanism. And so with that complete reset, what do I do with that? I just feel that Three of Wands is so, oh, it's comforting. It's comforting at this time. How can I nourish myself emotionally or spiritually in a way that feels expansive and healing right now? Sorry, I said you guys, all of us. How can we nourish ourselves emotionally and spiritually? Interesting. King of Swords. So I've been saying this whole time, like getting out of our heads, being in the heart space. I feel like the nourishment, the King of Swords is coming through to say, be smart about what you're putting into your body. King of Swords energy is someone who's been very thoughtful, well practiced, well educated, right? Very intellectual in their approach. They receive a lot of intuition and they follow that intuition through their logical mind, because they've gone through all of the steps. They know how they feel about things. And I feel like when we're talking about the nourishment piece, King of Swords is going to take the intelligent approach or the intellectual approach. Well, if I want to not have stomach upset, then I'm going to listen to my body when my body says that I don't want to eat cheese or I shouldn't eat cheese. I'm speaking of myself here. I love cheese and my body doesn't. So King of Swords is saying, all right, Stacey, you know what cheese does to your body. So, yeah, sure, you can absolutely go and eat that cheese right now, but then don't be surprised if your body's not going to be fully supportive of the activities that you want to do, for the rest of the day or the next 2 days. I feel like when we're talking about that expansive healing energy and the nourishment, King of Swords is coming up to say, use your brain. Use your brain and use your brain in a way that it's meant to be used. It's not meant to be a rumination tool. It's not meant to breed anxiety and to cause us to get stuck in, unhelpful thoughts. It's saying, no, 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 we're going to nourish ourselves now, and heal ourselves now by doing the thing that makes sense, listening to the body, listening to how you're really feeling, and keeping in mind feelings are neither true nor false. They simply are, but they are signposts along the roadmap that you're following. And so, from that emotional and that spiritual perspective, what are the things that you need? Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's a smash room to release all the pent up energy, to help release the decaying from the body, doing something physical to help release the emotion from the body. Maybe it's doing a new moon ceremony or a ritual out in nature. There are so many different ways. And quite honestly, like we can talk about all the like do the retreat and do the meditation and we can go into all the spiritual stuff. But I want to say we are also in a time right now where it's about how do we make dishes and laundry more spiritual. It's about bringing spirituality into the everyday, no longer living in that compartmentalized way. And I feel like King of Swords is very much giving us that nudge. That is the goal right now. So, you know, connecting the spiritual doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do something spiritual, in air quotes. It can be anything that allows you to get more in touch with your core, to feel more at ease in your own body. And who doesn't need more ease and peace right now, right? And a lot of people are seeking it outside of ourselves right now. And I'm going to say to you, you're not going to find it because the world right now is very much energetically in upheaval. It's like nails on a chalkboard. So we really do need to go within to, I want to say, set ourselves right, to find that balance. And this is going to be a great segue now into our solar eclipse. And it's a partial solar eclipse that's happening on the 21st of 2025. And that is again in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of the practical, the virgin, so purity, innocence. Virgo is very much the sign of service, and it's service in the day to day. How can I help you? You're not feeling well. Let me make you some soup. Let me run out to the store to get you, a cold compress and some vitamins. Let me come in and check in on you while you're napping, and I will take care of cleaning your kitchen for you. It's the how can I serve? So, this is going to be bringing up in a couple of weeks after we've done all of this internal work over the next couple of weeks. This is now going to be an opportunity for us to, as we've done this big release, to now connect with what we've discovered about ourselves and to connect with that plan that we're formulating and now be able to externalize it. But here are some of the things that are going to be popping up in the meantime. You're going to be running into issues of perfectionism. And even if you are not a perfectionist yourself, you are going to be running into those areas where you feel that you wish you were better at them. So understand that you might not call yourself a perfectionist, but you're still going to run into areas where you feel that you are not perfectly perfect, right? Um, all of us are going to be feeling that. And I feel that there's also an energy here coming up with this solar eclipse that is encouraging all of us to open to new structure, new ways to organize our lives, new ways to, I want to say, to build things that have never been built before, but they're being built because of the new things we need. So that's where that visioning comes into the mix. We do want to prepare ourselves for this externalized energy. The solar eclipse often brings with it potential shocks, unclear boundaries, and you're going to be dealing with this with a lot of people not being very clear on what it is that they want from you. And I want to say, do your best to not lose your shit with them because you're going to be feeling it too. But it's because they're unclear because they don't know for themselves. They're still trying to figure it out. Um, Emotional instability. This is going to be a huge one for all of us. And so I want you really kind of thinking about like the 21st and then the 2 weeks after that. And of course, it's going to have another, 6-month effect. But we're really talking about these 2 weeks because this is where the energy really is the most potent and where we're putting this stuff into place. Emotional instability, we're already feeling it in the collective right now. Think about it when now everybody is on high alert. Everybody's buttons are being pushed. You want to make sure that you've set up boundaries for yourself. Maybe this is a time where you're choosing to not really go out into the larger crowd, that you're choosing to do things that are, smaller groups in nature or places where, like rather than going to a public park where you can run into so many different people, you go to a botanical garden where there's a little bit of an entry fee and they have a restriction on how many people are actually allowed in the garden at one time. Or you choose to do like a little tour, a guided tour where, the general public isn't around, but you've got, your group of 8 people that are going on. So find ways to kind of protect yourself and to protect yourself from yourself as well. Because, like I said, there are going to be potential shocks, unclear boundaries, emotional instability. There's going to be a lot of tension. People are going to be going through all sorts of things. But guess what? So are you. You're going to be triggered in ways that you're not anticipating as well. So, how can we mitigate that? When we don't know exactly how we're going to react to something, you mitigate that by preparing yourself and saying, okay, the next couple of weeks, it's going to be more important for me to be present and to breathe and to set the tone for each day, knowing that I may go out into the world and run into all sorts of, solar flares within people's, attitudes, within people's lives, within, situations where normally it wouldn't be a big deal, but now all of a sudden road rage is insane because everybody's, hot under the collar and mad as a hornet. So you can prepare yourself for these things. Tensions with authority patterns is going to be huge. And this is really important to hear, peeps. Those authority patterns, we're seeing it right now out in the world. There are a lot of people who are going to, resist authority. There's going to be a lot of resistance. Choose which side of the resistance you want to be on. And I like to say, from all of the greats in the past who have said, what we resist persists. But I will say to you, it is also part of the human experience. And in this solar eclipse time, very external time, there's going to be resistance. So lean into the resistance that works for you. Lean into the resistance that your heart and your soul aligns with. Because this solar eclipse is all about recalibration. The lunar eclipse was about a reset. And now we've got the recalibration of that reset, right? So we've already in the lunar eclipse, we hit the button to restart. So we had to boot the computer up. Now the computer is booted up, and now we're having to put all of our freaking passwords in 57,000 times and resetting, our apps that normally pop up and just remember us all the time. Now we have to do all that, take that extra step because the computer needs to know who you are now because you're a new version of yourself. So understand that all of this is really coming up, but it's all really potent energy that is happening because you did the emotional work. And it's going to really lean into you being able to make all of that internal work very practical. You've reset and reorganized. And now your ability to self-care, your ability to go out into the world and connect with people in a more, I want to say, the word comforting keeps coming up, comforting and more compassionate way, with more patience, with more tolerance, with a plan. So grounding is going to be really important at this time. Uh, Restructuring your life. I'm a big purporter of cutting out anything that feels obligatory, anything that is an obligation in your life. Cut that shit out. If it feels like an obligation, you don't want to do it. You only want to do things that you feel really connected to, that are going to have meaning, that you can get into the responsibility of it because it makes sense, because it brings you some sense of joy or fulfillment or satisfaction. Also, just with Virgo, it's always a good time to declutter your schedule, declutter your house, declutter your community. If there's anyone that you've got hanging around that just isn't lighting your fire and floating your boat. Um, this is also going to be a time where there are critical endings and new beginnings. It's the what the eclipse represents in the world scientifically is mirrored in our lives. So you may decide, I'm done with this friendship, or I'm tired of this crazy family pattern and I'm just not going to participate in it anymore. You may decide, I'm done with this particular job and I'm ready to move on to something else. Um, don't resist. Be in flow with this. Be in flow with the process, because if you try to hang on, remember, we've already let go of the decay. Now you're in the recalibration. If you try to hang on, you're going to break the new that's coming up. You're going to have to recalibrate all over again. So, you know, do what you want, but I say, like, better out than in. Um, there's going to be a lot of that boundary setting as well, navigating other people's boundaries, because if you're resetting your boundaries, other people are resetting theirs as well. And we have that Ace of Swords energy coming through, bringing in of the clarity, a need for clearer boundaries, adjusting your issues with authority, standing in your own sovereignty, reframing the chaos of transformation and change as the recalibration, and bringing your emotions in alignment with the truth of what this really is, which is, it is the great reset and it's happening for you. And there's an internal momentum that has been established and will be established during this lunar eclipse that you are now going to be able to apply. I say wisdom is a nothing burger unless it's applied. You're going to be able to apply that moving forward. And this is going to be huge for the transformation that is coming up for you, that is rooted in service, your healing, and integrity. That truth piece is coming up. So, for the solar eclipse card pulls, we're going to do kind of a ground and reset. And for ground, I'm going to say, I'm actually going to change that word. Grounding for some of you, yes, by all means, ground. But I'm going to say it's centering, connecting to your center, connecting to your core. I feel like we all need that, especially those who are listening to this radio station. A lot of star seeds and light workers. We need to be centered and to our soul, centered to our truth, centered to our own purpose and missions, and that's really important. So, what habits, routines, or systems are no longer supporting your well-being and need clearing? Yeah, Nine of Wands, control, releasing control. Also, this pattern of needing to persevere. needing to push yourself beyond the boundary. We talked in the lunar eclipse about listening to the body, nurturing the body. The King of Swords says, do what you've learned, do what you need to do, be intelligent about it. Nine of Wands is coming up to say, if the shit is not supporting your well-being, why do you keep pushing yourself past the boundary? It's time to clear, and I spoke about obligation. It's time to clear out obligation, because it's usually obligation that causes the need for you to feel like you've got to push yourself past the boundary. And I'm not talking about stretching yourself outside the box or stretching the comfort zone here. I'm just talking about being realistic. I don't need to torture myself any longer. I don't need to be the only person in the office that stays past the end of the day every single day when everybody else goes home. I don't need to be that person that stays all the time either. I don't need to be the person that holds everybody up all the time on an emotional level. To each his own. Everybody's got their own path. No more enabling, releasing control. It's also a nine energy, which is connected to Virgo energy. And it's the number of service, but it's also the number of endings and conclusions. So look at the commitments that you've made and recognize where they're not supporting your well-being. Oh my God, you guys, you can't make this shit up. Where in your life are you being overly critical of yourself or others? How can you introduce grace? You got another nine, Nine of Swords. So it's the anxiety, it's the expectation that a lot of us have around how we're showing up in the world, around this idea that if we don't do it, no one else will. And while in some instances, I would say to you, that's the truth. When it comes to our own personal paths and purpose and missions, maybe as we're serving the collective, now is a time for us to make sure that we're staying in our high frequency vibration. And if we don't do it, no one will. I would agree with that statement. But when we're talking about the physical, when we're talking about the emotional, it doesn't serve anyone, least of all you, to be all knotted up in anxiety and not able to sleep or not able to make decisions or not able to function. Out with the old and in with the new. Stop being critical of yourself. I know, easy to say, right? Easier said than done. But whenever you are being critical with yourself, I feel like you can stop and say, okay, I replace, the I should be doing this with I am gracing myself with this experience. I'm gracing myself with the permission to be patient with myself today. I am gracing myself by choosing to stop this activity because it's causing me too much anxiety. And I'm going to shift into an activity that brings me peace and brings me joy. Find ways to implement grace through your intentions. And I feel like this is through affirmation in a really big way. What practical intention can you plant now for the coming season? This can be with health, your schedule, your work, and your environment. Six of Swords. Holy shitballs, guys. This is the card of support and grace. So what did I just say to you guys? I said, what practical intention? Use the affirmations, right? Use the word grace to create affirmations for yourself so that you can get out of that critical, anxious space that's in your head. So practically, the Six of Swords is coming up and coming through to say, yeah, use the grace. Actually, physically move yourself out of an environment that is causing anxiety. That might mean, if you're at work and things are getting really heated, you go and you take you take a 5 minute break and you walk around the parking lot, or you walk around the building, or you just go out and you sit under a tree and listen to the birds chirping. If you are stuck in your house and you're feeling really overwhelmed, the walls closing in on you, go sit outside for a minute. Or if you can't get that, thing off your mind about the closet that you need to clean out, or the cupboard that is overwhelming you and it's causing you to not want to cook, go and address the issue with the closet or the cupboard, because you're going to feel better. And you're moving yourself out of danger, moving yourself out of anxiety, and you're moving into a more peaceful space. Grace is one of those things where I think it's like bliss. People have a hard time really kind of like grasping it, understanding what it all really means. And I feel like the Six of Swords is really giving us the secret, the secret sauce to that. And it's saying, if you've got something niggling on in your mind, then do it. Like, put everything else to the side, make that your priority and address it so that you no longer have that energy being sucked from your mind all the time, sucked from your energy space. And finally, how can we bring gentle structure or care to support the transformations that we are going through moving forward? Queen of Cups. Wow, I love this. So it is being compassionate with ourselves and being compassionate with others. It's standing in that ocean of emotion and saying, I can't control the ocean of emotion. What I can control is the fact that it's mine. And when I stand and I own that these feelings are mine, they're neither true nor false. They simply are. And they're mine. Now, suddenly, there's a little more feeling of security around that. There's a little more feeling of, okay, no one else is going to do anything with this. No one can do anything with this or about this except for me. And so that puts a little bit of that safety and security back into you. No one else can make you feel anything but you. And this Queen of Cups, I feel, is really going to be gentle and say, I'm here to care for you. I'm here to love you. I feel like this is our soul actually speaking to us. I know we talked a lot about heart, but I feel like this is our soul speaking to us at this time and really saying, hey, I see you. I know, like, we're here doing this thing together. And I know that it's difficult for you, but I've got you. And we're here to do this. So let's just do it together and let's do this with excitement. Let's do this understanding that, yeah, not everything is going to be sunshine and daisies, wine and roses, but it's not supposed to be. And so how can we support each other as we're going through the storm, as well as the calm shores and the calm seas? And every feeling and emotion simply affirms the fact that you are alive. And I love that this is coming up in that solar eclipse energy space too, the externalized energy, because you're talking to your soul about it, but then you're going to walk the path. You're going to live it. You're going to be a walking, talking example of that compassion and that love and that self-care that's coming up. And what a beautiful transformation to be in, to release all those swords, all those wands, all that anxiety and that ick, and owning your sovereignty. Love it. Love it, love it. So, Nicole, I think we're probably getting close to time here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of shameless self-promotion here to say to all of you guys who are listening, first of all, I appreciate y'all. It's been a really wild ride and incredible journey this year. And I know it has been for all of us. And I just want to say thank you for being on this journey with me. I feel your energy. I see you and I feel you. And I'm so grateful to have you in my life to support me and lift me up. And I hope that these sessions are supporting and lifting you up as well. And if there's any way that I can be connected and of assistance to you in a deeper way, please connect with me on theblackfeatherintuition.com. Also, I do a lot of content on my YouTube channel, The Black Feather Intuitive. I've been doing a lot of transformational readings, astrology readings. I do my day drinking and tarot. I'm doing real life readings. We do all sorts of things on my channel, and would love to stay in touch with you guys there. Please feel free to watch whatever it is you want to watch. I would love it for people to leave comments. I know we're all so busy, and sometimes it's a real challenge to hit the like button and to to take a second out to leave a comment. But if you do, I'm going to respond to all of them and would love to be of service in that way. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Nicole, for this space. And I'm wishing you guys all an incredible eclipse season. Hang on to your hats. You've got some really helpful tools to help you through this. And just know and understand that this is happening for us. So lean into that and transform well.
Awesome. So great too. Oh, it's always great. And yeah, we'll buckle up. I loved the conversation about the cheese. I'll factor that in. And the cards were amazing, eh? Just perfect.
Yeah,
Oh,
mind blowing,
yeah,
mind blowing.
very cool. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Looking forward to next time. Enjoy the ride because sounds like it's going to be an interesting one. Thanks, Stacey.
Yes. Back at you. You're welcome. Take care.
Stacey's all linked up.